Here's Carolyn Jarvis.
Good evening and welcome to a new season of 16 by 9. They were a honeymooning couple, two Canadians on an idyllic trip to Ecuador beginning their lives together. They thought they were alone on a mountaintop overlooking the valley below when three attackers approached. What followed is an extraordinary tale of violence and courage with an ending you may find hard to believe. It was something mystical that called to the newlyweds. Steve Obey, the 40-year-old self-described spiritual healer, and his bride Laura Milkowicz. There was also the siren call of adventure and traveling somewhere exotic to celebrate their new marriage. Ecuador, a mountainous and ecological wonderland, and the place of eternal spring.
Only the Incan royalty could go there, and they believed that it held really beautiful powers to revitalize you and all kinds of things.
South of Quito, the highest capital in the world, the Valley of Longevity beckoned.
What is this place? Like the Valley of Longevity. I'm like, ooh, that sounds mystical.
I just had that sense, that gut, that something amazing was going to come out of Vilcabamba, that something magical was going to happen.
Vilcabamba, straddling the equator, once the sacred preserve of an ancient Inca civilization, the village is now a mecca for backpackers and New Age spiritualists. Drawn to the dramatic peaks and vistas of the Andes, and in particular, to the mountain they call Mandango. Here at the peak, 2,200 meters above the village, beside the solitary white cross, the lives of strangers are destined to become intertwined for an afternoon that will become indelible for the rest of their lives.
So it was March 8th, it was International Women's Day, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna conquer fear today, and I'm gonna see something beautiful.
And in that moment, you just thought fear was the mountain?
Yeah.
Little did you know.
Little did I know what was waiting for me up there.
It was during the rainy season, but on this morning, the clouds parted and the conditions seemed ideal for the 4-hour hike.
It was steep rock on one side and straight down on the other. At points, I was climbing up loose rock. There was like a landslide that wiped out the trail. And the whole time I'm walking up there, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not this person. I'm not this adventurous. I'm not this brave. And I was trembling.
So she was stuttering. I'm going, baby, what's wrong? She goes, I'm just scared right now. Can you see if it's safe to walk up there?
Why not turn back?
It was like this power pushing me, that I just felt that there was something that I was gonna overcome. And I thought it was just climbing the mountain.
She trusted me and knew that I would look after her, and yeah.
After 2.5 hours of scaling the winding, narrow goat path, the Canadian couple finally made it to the white wooden cross.
I felt so alive and so proud of myself that that was it for me. I was like, okay, I know I'm a brave person now. I know who I am.
Did you feel in that moment that you had conquered the fear you set out to conquer?
Absolutely.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, we can go home now.
I heard Laura say, uh-oh, and there they were.
We turned around and I saw 3 guys walking up, and they started putting on masks. And I was like, oh, this cannot be good.
There was only one way down, and suddenly the single path was blocked.
I saw machetes in their hand. So Instantly, I was filled with dread.
The three masked men forced the couple back up to the White Cross, onto their knees, ordering them to take off their shoes while they rifled through their backpacks looking for cash. And then the leader pulled out a gun.
He had it at the back of my head. And Laura's like, "Is that a gun? I hear a gun." And she's panicking. I go, "No, everything's okay, baby."
We were right at the edge of a little cliff, and he goes, "Do you want me to just push you off? And you can make a run for it."
And I'll wrestle around with these three guys, and she's like, "Everything's okay, nothing bad is gonna happen."
We're gonna be okay.
And you laugh.
Yeah, because I thought I would never jump off a cliff. Things could never get that bad that I would risk my safety.
But things escalated yet again when Steve dropped the hotel key.
As soon as I saw that key hit the ground, I'm like, shit, I should have left that hotel key in the room. Everything's changing now.
Suddenly, there was a price tag on Laura's head, $3,000, and an impossible deadline for Steve.
They said, you have 2 hours to go to your hotel and get more money, or we're gonna kill her. If you bring anybody else up the path, if we see the police, we'll kill her. They took the machete and they're like, this is what we'll do, basically.
Didn't they recognize it was physically impossible for you to get back there in 2 hours?
Oh, of course they wouldn't do that because they're up and down that mountain all the time. Yeah.
But it was almost like writing a death certificate for your wife. It was
Basically,
impossible what they were asking you to do.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys are gonna kill me if he's not back? Like, I just wanted to clarify everything that I could. And the guy said, yeah. And he said, off, mountain, push, muerte.
I asked them 3 times to have my wife go down. And
You wanted her to get the money.
I wanted her to go get the money and me stay up there. Then I tried to talk one of the guys to coming down with me.
And?
Look, everything's cool. I'm a brother here. I'm not judging anything that's going on. Like, just come hang out with me. You know, we'll grab a bite, I'll get you the money, and we'll call it a day. And he took off his mask when he was talking to me, so when he did, I was having like face-to-face conversation with him.
You saw his face?
Yeah. I was able to see like the tattoos on his arm and everything else. When I saw him with the tattoo, it was a yin and yang tattoo. And the yin and yang tattoo means balance, right? The light and the dark. So when I saw it, believe it or not, it actually calmed me down.
You're kneeling on the ground, no shoes. 3 armed, masked men have just threatened your life.
My mind immediately went to, Steve will come back and get them their money and they'll make us walk down in our socks and that'll be it.
With only 2 hours to make a trek that normally takes twice that time, Steve makes a run for it in his bare feet.
In my heart, I actually felt that something was going to come up, which wasn't going to be comfortable for my wife to experience at the time. Can I ever love my wife again, right, if another man does this? Or am I going to be able to treat her the same if these men do this to her? Or
Do what?
Rape her, right? I knew they were watching on the hill, and it was like, I got to go to the hotel, I got to get the money and go back up. The owners of the hotel have the binoculars, and there's only 2 guys up there. I'm going, well, there was 3, so there's a guy missing now.
You couldn't see Laura when you looked
No.
up on that mountain?
No, all I saw was 2 men. So I'm like, whoa, like, what's going on here?
Next on 16 by 9, a Canadian woman left alone to fend off attackers.
Felt a bit of shame, too, right? Like, I fed my wife to the lions.
In Ecuador, nestled in the Valley of Longevity, the people of Vilcabamba go about their usual business on the morning of International Women's Day. there is no hint that the tranquility of this place, a sacred place once revered by an ancient civilization, is about to vanish. 2,200 meters above the ebb and flow of life on the street, a Canadian woman, forced to her knees by 3 men with machetes, waits. Can her husband make the 2-hour deadline to return with the ransom money? When Steve decides instead to get the police, the waiting game on the peak of the mountain takes a turn.
And they said, "Oh, policia." And I was like, no policia. I didn't see anything. One of them said, your husband doesn't have a problem with us hurting you. And they had said the word dolor, which is pain or hurt. And I thought they said dollar. And so I was like, no problema con dolor. Like, no problem with money. Like, don't worry, he's gonna get it. And the leader kicked me so hard in the back, like, you're such an idiot. Like, you don't even know what you're saying.
News of the drama unfolding on top of the mountain spreads throughout the village. And the town prosecutor, Victor Hugo Lohan, decides he's got to act.
I imagined the worst, because for me, it wasn't a robbery. It was kidnapping, it was rape. We went to rescue her, but we were afraid her attackers had already killed her.
John Ortega, a government office worker, also rushes to the mountain to join the police and villagers forming an impromptu rescue team.
It was the very first time anything like this had happened in our town. We were so desperate to get to the top, so we passed the cops. This woman is in danger.
They pulled my pants down and they moved me onto all fours, and I just kept asking for them to stop. Please stop, over and over again.
The terrain was very difficult because it was very steep, and our feet kept slipping.
The path was full of thorn bushes. We were getting caught all over our body. On the way up, I was getting ready to face whatever might be up there.
Victor Hugo Lohan sprints to the top. He spots a ball cap, hiking socks, a woman's hoodie, even a Bible. And then the town prosecutor is confronted with a split-second decision.
The top 3 people going down.
You saw 3 people
3 people.
leaving.
Sí.
3 men.
3 men.
You believe they were the attackers?
Sí. Sí.
In the same instant, 100 meters below, he catches sight of a crumpled body caught by a rocky ledge.
I rushed to where she was, and she was in a fetal position.
Were you the first person to reach her?
Sí.
Yes, I was. And when I saw her, I screamed loud, come over, come here.
She had bruises all over her body, and it was just terrible, because had she tried to stand up and keep walking, she would have fallen over the cliff and wouldn't make it.
Only centimeters separated Laura from life or rolling off the mountain cliff to a certain death.
I took off my shirt and I covered her.
She was screaming, no more, no more, no more. I'm a friend, I'm a friend.
In and out of consciousness, she thought her attackers had caught up with her.
I had to reassure her we were friends.
We've seen a photo where you are cradling Laura's head. What was happening in that moment?
She was in a lot of pain, so I handled her with a lot of care. It was an emotional scene. She was crying, and so was her husband.
She looks at me and she's like, "Who are you?" And I go, "Baby, it's your husband." And she goes, "Oh, it's okay, I gotta go now." And I go, "You're not going anywhere." And all the angels and all these presences and everything that was around me, I said, "No, this is not gonna happen." She was all busted up everywhere. And yeah, like it looked like she wasn't gonna make it. Yeah.
Is that what you thought?
Yeah.
When you're taking this all in, your wife before you, mangled, bloody.
Yeah.
Is there any feeling of responsibility? I left her on that hill.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I felt a bit ashamed too, right? Like I fed my wife to the lions.
With so much blood loss, the extent of her injuries unknown, it is now a duel between the village rescuers and the mountain. 12 men begin the arduous descent in a race to beat nightfall.
I was at the front of the stretcher. The trail was so narrow, so we had to take turns, sometimes at the front, sometimes at the back.
And I'm talking, sometimes we were coming down at like 45-degree angle. Like I don't know how they were walking down like this and keeping her straight up. You know what I mean?
We tripped over many times along the way, but it was like a teamwork, because when some of the people were carrying the stretcher, the other people were holding us to prevent us from falling.
Despite the 40-degree heat, in the rush up the mountain, no one thought to bring water.
She was asking for water, but we found a small mountain spring. The water was very dirty, but we used our shirts to strain the water for her. There wasn't enough water for all of us, so it was just for her.
At sunset, a grueling 4 hours later, they finally reached safety.
And your journey was finished. What did you see in front of you?
When we got there, we saw a lot of people waiting for us, and as soon as they saw us, they start clapping and they start congratulating us. Well, when I look back, I can't help but feel proud of myself, because one person is alive because of us.
Next on 16 by 9.
Like my worst fear is coming into reality right now. And these men are gonna rape my wife. Am I gonna be able to love her the same after?
The 12-hour mountain ordeal behind her now, doctors rush a 27-year-old Canadian woman into surgery. And police turn to the only witness they have, her husband, Steve Obey.
I had the police, the Crown Attorney, they were going through towns, pulling people out of their houses. I went right into it.
You wanted justice?
At that specific time, that's what I wanted.
This is the picture of the tattoo Steve saw on one of the bandits.
Aquí?
Sí, en mano derecha, en la parte de aquí.
Armed with Steve's drawings and his description of the three men, police were confident it was only a matter of time before they'd make an arrest. The police knew that Laura had cheated death once.
This is where we found her.
This is where you found her.
Laura had fractured her back, her neck, as well as breaking her pelvis, her left arm, and leg. But police were baffled. How had she landed here? A 100-meter drop from the scene of a kidnapping. a distance equivalent to that of a 30-story building. It was only at her hospital bedside that her husband, and then the police, discovered how Laura had cheated death a second time.
You're kneeling on the ground, no shoes. 3 armed, masked men have just threatened your life. What are you thinking?
I just was hoping that Steve could run really fast, and I just knew he would come back and things would be okay. So I was in a ball with my head down, and
like in a child's pose?
Yeah, just in a little ball. And then 2 of them just started, getting physical and touching me. I noticed that there was a machete on the ground lying by my head. So they had seen me as so meek and incapable of doing anything that they had just left their weapons lying on the ground. They pulled my pants down and they moved me onto all 4s, and they literally put my hand on the machete. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I jumped up and I had this machete in my hand, and then the leader started punching me. I got punched right in the eye, and that was when I got really stunned, and that was when I lost my grip on the machete. And then I fell to the floor. The guy had me pinned by the throat, and he was crushing my windpipe, and I coughed, and he squeezed tighter. So I was like, okay, he's gonna kill me. All of a sudden, I remembered that my husband and I had play wrestled before, and he's like, I'm gonna show you this cool leg lock. And all of a sudden it came back to me, and I swung my legs up and I did this scissor kick, neck choke hold on him, and he fell back off me. So I was free.
You did a neck chokehold with your legs.
I don't know, it was some crazy ninja move. I started to roll away, and there was a huge drop in front of me. I couldn't see how far down it was. This guy's coming towards me, and I'm like, go back up there with him and his 2 buddies who are already really mad at me, and we're already going to rape and murder me, or jump.
What were you going to leap out onto?
I thought I was going to die. I thought, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'd rather jump off this cliff than go back up there with these guys.
So you weren't jumping off the cliff to maybe save your life. You were jumping off the cliff because you thought you were going to die?
It's funny because I thought, either way, I'm dead. And if my husband has to come up and find me, I can't have him see me like that. I can't have that happen to him. So I thought, I'll jump. And then if he finds me there, at least he knows that I made the choice on my own to do that. So I just edged to the edge, and I just dropped off. My eyes were open, and I could see all these rocks flying past me. And I remember thinking, I don't want to see this. I don't want to watch what's going to happen after this. And I shut my eyes. And then I hit the ground, and I bounced. And I remember thinking, whoa, I'm really bouncy. I didn't expect that. I kind of thought I would splat, or that it would be the end. I didn't plan on what would happen after I jumped. That's when instinct took over. Anytime anything touched my hands, I would grab. So grass, anything, twigs, anything that came into contact, I just latched on. Like I was gripping onto the earth with everything that I had. And eventually I slowed down and I stopped rolling. And then I heard the skitter of rocks. And I thought, okay, they might be coming. I have to get up, I have to run, because if they catch me, that's it, I'm dead.
Keep going, keep
keep
going,
going.
keep going.
And I was psyching myself up, and then all of a sudden this big energy just went poof, and everything went white, and it was just like, stop moving, just lie down.
While Laura was still recovering from surgery, Guido Espejo got a break in the case.
We did catch a suspect with this tattoo, just like this, and so we called Laura's husband.
I got a phone call. We've caught one of the guys. And that's when reality started to hit me that I need to really sit and think here on what's going to happen.
Why? What's to think about? These men are on a mountain. They violate your wife. They drive her to jumping off a cliff. And you have the opportunity to have one of them apprehended and potentially charged.
But I'm telling you, I went so dark, I literally became that.
Became what?
To that vibration, that energy, that anger, that fear. I talked to Laura about it, and I said they've apprehended one of these individuals, and they want me to go identify him. But I need to think, if I do this, how that's going to benefit humanity and myself.
Next on 16 by 9, face to face.
I could have easily just grabbed the gun and just shot him right in Ecuador.
With a man who could have killed his wife.
Three men forced his wife onto all fours on top of a mountain. They threatened to slit her throat with a machete. While she lay recovering in an Ecuadorian hospital, was one of her attackers now sitting across from the only witness.
It's some dirty, old, open, looks like some old warehouse with some dude sitting in a chair, and he's right there, and I'm right here. And there's no glass, there's nothing around me. And I'm looking around the room, okay, there's a gun there, there's a cop with something on his holster there. I could have easily just grabbed the gun and just shot him right in Ecuador.
And you're as close as you and I are right now?
Actually, probably even closer, yeah. And I really had to, I was scared, right? Because I have someone's life in my hands.
Was it him?
I believe so, yeah. And in that moment, I got up and I shook his hand, and I walked out. I felt like shit. I'm like, this is the guy's hand that touched my wife, possibly.
And you shook it?
And I shook it.
What did you say to the police?
I said, I'm not ready to make a decision and to change someone's life in that way if I'm not 100% ready to change what's inside me. Straight out, this isn't gonna happen.
That spring night, a young man bearing a distinguishing tattoo walked out of the police station onto the streets of a village forever changed by a crime that took place beside the White Cross.
Of all the suspects, one of them is still around town. Now this person is free, so I'm sure that he's going to commit a crime one more time.
That situation empowered me because I wasn't a victim. I got to fight. I got to see what I was capable of. And to forgive them on top of that, it was so much more beautiful to me.
Did you not want justice?
At first I did, only because I thought if they continue doing this, that's not fair. And if I can do something to stop them from hurting other people, then I would do that.
How about just simply paying for what they did to you?
It's funny because I think I was really angry, and there were times when I went to like a really dark place and I thought about, you know, if I could get alone in a room with him and all these things, but it didn't feel good to me to be there. And I think I really wanted to focus on getting better and the fact that I did survive and that I'm here now.
Those men who carried you down the mountain, did you come to know their names?
No. And I would kiss them all if I saw them again.
If you could send them a message.
Oh my God. I think I said it the whole way down the mountain, that I love you and thank you. You know, who puts themselves through that for a stranger? And that's what I was. I was some girl in a strange country.
Can I show you what she looks like today?
Sí, claro.
Sí.
Es muy bonita.
She is beautiful.
Es una pena que ella.
It's such a shame that all the things she went through. And honestly, I hope no one will go through what she went through, never, ever. And what I want to say is I do apologize on behalf of my country, on behalf of my people for what she went through.
Tell me, when you look up at the mountain today, what comes to mind?
Laura.